Right now, farmers are shutting down supply lines, supermarkets are closing, and shelves are going empty, and one political decision may have just pushed the country to breaking point. Welcome back to Power and Policy UK, the channel where politics meets real-world consequences. Tonight, a story that's unfolding by the minute. Farmer blockades spreading across the country, supermarkets struggling to stock shelves, and Keir Starmer facing mounting pressure as policy decisions collide with Britain's food supply. This isn't theory, this is power in action. Breaking just moments ago, and the situation is moving fast. Across large parts of the UK this afternoon, fresh reports are coming in of escalating farmer protests that are now directly hitting food supply chains, with several stores forced to close early and major supermarkets struggling to keep shelves stocked. At the center of the political fallout is Keir Starmer, after comments and policy signals from his camp appear to have poured fuel on an already volatile dispute between farmers, distributors, and government. Here's what we know so far. Farmer-led blockades that began as targeted protests have rapidly widened in scope. What started at distribution hubs and key road junctions has now spread to routes feeding supermarket depots. Multiple logistics insiders say deliveries were delayed or turned around entirely this morning, with drivers unable to access warehouses safely. Tesco, along with other major chains, is understood to be operating emergency stock reallocation plans, prioritizing urban stores, while some rural and suburban outlets have reportedly shut their doors due to lack of fresh produce. The trigger, according to farming unions and protest organizers, is a growing sense that agriculture is once again being sidelined. Farmers say proposed changes around environmental rules, land use, and tax treatment would make many family farms financially unviable. While these debates have been simmering for months, tensions spiked after Starmer doubled down on his party's position during recent remarks, rejecting calls for immediate concessions and signaling that reforms would go ahead despite industry backlash. Protest leaders are framing this as a last resort. They argue that previous warnings were ignored, consultations were cosmetic, and that direct action is now the only way to be heard. One organizer described today's action as a line in the sand, saying farmers are tired of being told to absorb costs while retailers and politicians remain insulated. The message is simple: if farming collapses, food supply collapses with it. The immediate impact is already visible. Shoppers in several regions are posting images of empty produce aisles and handwritten notices explaining temporary closures. Staff at affected stores say they were given little notice, with delivery shortfalls becoming clear only in the early hours. While supermarkets insist there is no national shortage at this stage, they admit the situation is dynamic and could deteriorate quickly if blockades continue into the weekend. Politically, this is a nightmare scenario. Starmer is being accused by critics of misjudging both the mood and the leverage of the farming community. Opponents argue that by refusing to soften his stance or open urgent talks, he has allowed a contained protest to spiral into a national disruption. Supporters counter that backing down under pressure would set a dangerous precedent and undermine long-term environmental and economic goals. Inside Westminster, sources say there is growing concern about optics as well as substance. Supermarket closures and empty shelves are powerful symbols, and they land hard with voters already anxious about the cost of living. Even short-lived disruption can leave a lasting impression, especially when it taps into fears about food security and self-sufficiency. What makes this moment particularly explosive is timing. With trust in institutions already fragile, scenes of farmers clashing with police near depots and lorries idling on blocked roads cut straight through political messaging. Social media is amplifying everything in real time, with hashtags calling for solidarity with farmers trending alongside demands for government intervention. Each new clip adds to the sense of a country on edge. Tesco and other retailers are publicly urging calm. In brief statements, they say they are working closely with suppliers and authorities to restore normal deliveries and keep essential items available. Privately, however, retail analysts warn that supermarkets run on finely tuned, just-in-time systems. Disrupt those systems for even a few days, and the knock-on effects multiply fast, especially for fresh food. For farmers, the calculation is brutal but deliberate. They believe visibility equals leverage. By hitting supply chains rather than symbolic targets, they force the issue into every household. A protest at a field edge can be ignored. A closed supermarket cannot. The risk, of course, is public opinion turning against them if disruption drags on or appears excessive. Starmer now faces a narrowing set of options. He can hold firm and hope the protests lose momentum, risking further disruption and political damage. Or he can signal a pause, talks, or transitional protections for farmers, which might diffuse tensions but invite accusations of weakness. Either way, today's events suggest the conflict has moved into a new and more dangerous phase. What happens next depends on the next 24 to 48 hours. Protest organizers say more blockades are planned unless there is a clear change in tone from political leaders. Police are under pressure to keep roads open without inflaming the situation. Supermarkets are juggling stock, staff, and customer communication minute by minute. This isn't just about farmers and politicians anymore. It's about how fragile modern supply chains really are, and how quickly political disputes can spill into everyday life. Empty shelves don't just signal a logistics problem, they signal a breakdown in trust between producers, policymakers, and the public. As this story continues to unfold, one thing is clear. The images coming out today have already shifted the conversation. Whether Starmer adjusts course or doubles down, he's now doing so under the harsh spotlight of real-world consequences. And with blockades spreading and stores closing, this is no longer a theoretical debate. It's happening right now, and the next move could determine whether this crisis cools down or explodes even further. If you want sharp, no-nonsense coverage of how decisions in Westminster hit everyday life, make sure you're subscribed to Power and Policy UK. Like the video, share your thoughts below, and stay locked in, because when policy shifts, we're here to show you who feels it first.